It's a holiday week. I need to get some steaming and photos done. I am going to try and do a little bit of footage while I take photos from a different angle, see how that works out. But this is a Chatty work with me, and today's topic is going to be things that resellers have said where I feel like they lied to me over the years. This is people on Instagram, YouTube that make statements, and I just feel like that was a lie, and I'll explain why this idea came up. But it's just a time to work and chat. So I'm gonna count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Is my little volume up so I remember? All right, it's up. So I was thinking about this the other day because I was on Instagram and some of my reseller friends on Instagram who like pop up in my feed are eBay and Amazon sellers. And they were starting to post the I love Q4 with like the ginormous package piles. And I'm sitting there going, if I only knew 5 years ago, was it 5 years ago? I don't even know. However long I've been doing this, that Q4 would pretty much mean nothing to me. I would be so happy at that time. And what I mean by that is, so my very first year reselling, I started July 1st. And my very first year, I started following people. I was watching a lot of video content, and I was learning. And all these people were talking about how excited they were for Q4 and be sure to order all your shipping supplies for Q4 and sharing past packaged piles from Q4. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Q4 is going to be so amazing. And then Q4 came and it went, and it didn't mean anything to me. I mean, I had sales and there were a couple good weeks, but I remember things completely died down Thanksgiving week, which is what I'm filming right now. And I didn't have the common sense to know, like, maybe that's because people are out shopping for Christmas gifts for loved ones and they aren't buying, used clothing online. I think the reason I feel like this was a lie, while it may be true for some, it felt like a lie to me because I'm like, Q4 historically every year for me has actually been a pretty quiet time. And I'm mainly talking about November, December. And I know some pre-owned clothing resellers who would argue that it's sometimes their best months. I just think that, maybe they're going harder on listing. Maybe they're listing different stuff. Who knows? For me personally, that big hoopla, I don't even know if that's the right word, of Q4 has consistently let me down. And I'm happy for other people who have great Q4s. I want everyone to be successful. And so it's great if other people encounter some great sales. For me personally, no. I can't find a hanger for that one, so I'm just going to put that down. So that's where this idea came from, is people make statements all the time in the reselling community. And if you're relatively new, or if you do this very part-time and you're just trying to scale things up, you might hear things and you might be let down and you might have that feeling of like, they lied to me. What the heck? So I just have a list of other things that I've heard over the years, and I just thought it would be fun to talk about them, just my experience with them, why I think they lied to me. And to be completely fair, none of these people were like outwardly trying to get me. Like, oh, I'm going to tell Courtney on a YouTube video that, she should do this, and then I'm going to point and laugh while she does it, and it's not true. Like, obviously that's not the case. It's just more that feeling of I feel like they lied to me. Does that make sense? All right. Anyways. Also, I really want to wear this to Thanksgiving. I haven't tried it on. I shouldn't try it on, but I may as well. It's it's so cute. I love black and white. This is like black and ivory. This is a little too formal for my Thanksgiving. We are a casual bunch, but how cute is that? All right, so that's my first one. To kind of coincide with that, not all of these are going to be about Q4 or this time of year, but to kind of coincide with that is I remember hearing people, after that first year, I was really bummed. And so I was talking to some people and getting to be friends with some, and they would tell me, well, Courtney, why don't you just buy some new with tag stuff for the next holiday season? So that's what I did. The next holiday season, I decided I'm going to go out and buy some new with tag stuff. Maybe that means I'll see this increase in sales. Well, for one thing, I mean, yeah, I did a little retail arbitrage, but I was buying like sweaters, and I don't even buy clothing for gifts. And maybe you guys do. I know that I had some aunts when I was younger, and they would buy us some clothing, and we would just go, thank you. And then we would let it sit in our closet, and and they meant well, but I would never, I have two sisters, I would never buy them clothing. I've thought about it too. And I'm like, no, they would kill me. We all have different styles. I know that like there are certain clothing items that do make sense for gifts, scarves, hats, beanies, some sweaters, but even sweaters, I feel like it's just so personal. Again, I'm not saying you shouldn't. Maybe you have someone in your life that you know exactly what they want, or maybe they told you exactly what they want. I don't know. But for me, clothing is not what I buy for gifts. I just don't. And so I did that the second year. I was like, okay, I'm going to have a better Q4 the second time around. I'm going to buy this stuff, new with tags. And it just sat. It's just sat, like I bought it at like TJ Maxx or Marshall's or, Nordstrom Rack, and I got them on good sales, and I listed them, and I was so excited. And then they just sat. They didn't sell for Christmas. I didn't see an improvement in sales, and it just was very disappointing to me. Now, I don't think anyone said it to me as like, this is a guarantee. I don't think they were trying to cause harm. I'm just sharing that I've heard those things. I've tried those things. Lies for me. So if you have experienced that, let me know down below. I'm sure some of you guys have experienced that as well, of like these things just didn't change for you. And maybe some of you guys are going to say that Q4 selling pre-owned clothing is your best time ever. The only difference with that is, a true test comparison of timeframes. Did you have more listed? Were you listing more at that time this year versus last year? There's a lot of different variables that could skew results. So I'm happy if anyone has a good Q4. That would be great for all of us. For me personally, Q4 is usually a pretty quiet time. It's not my worst time. It's just usually a little quiet. All right, what's next? So here's one that I've heard that I don't know why. I mean, it doesn't bother me that people say it, but at the same time, so I've heard people, some close friends of mine included, say, like, I'll sell something and it will sell 30 minutes after I list it. And I'll tell my friend, I don't know, whoever. I'll be like, oh my gosh, this just sold in 30 minutes. I can't believe it. And their response is, well, you probably listed it too low. So instead of like being excited for me and like, yes, like you had a really quick flip and like, how awesome is that? And it sold for your full asking price and all this stuff, it kind of turns into a negative, like I did something wrong. So the reason I think this is a lie is there could just be times when things sell quickly because someone has a saved search and you just happen to be listing it in their size and it's priced appropriately where they feel confident, like, yes. There's a tank top that I have as a saved search. It's a very specific tank top. There's only one listed and the person has it listed for like $80. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to pay for that. And so I have it as a saved search. If someone lists that, anything under $50, and I get a notification, I will go buy it instantly because I have been waiting to replace one of my favorite tank tops. Who am I that turned into a person that would save a search for a tank top? But I wear it all the time. I know it's worth buying again because mine's stained and it's just a great basic. So there are people that will just have a saved search and come and buy it immediately because they're notified and it's priced appropriately. I don't think you should feel bad about having something priced appropriately. I just don't. I think you should be excited. Now, that isn't to say that there aren't times that you don't price too low. For example, maybe I just took a photo of this puffer jacket over here and I laughed at myself because it's my size and it has a broken zipper. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'll just wear it a little bit. I'm not going to get as much money as I originally thought because it's broken. It still works. The zipper still works. It's just, it's got a little issue. But so I decided to try it on. I'm going to try it on for you right now. I've never been a fan of puffer jackets. I know they're kind of trendy. I'm not a trendy person, but I was like, oh, I live in a cold climate on a really cold day. Like, yeah, why not wear a really trendy puffer jacket? Oh my God. I mean, can we just talk about how I look like a marshmallow just even putting this on? I am an average size person. I like to wear things that are flattering. This makes me feel like I'm going to walk around like this. I like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Anyways, why did I get here? I still think it's funny. This is really hot, by the way. Anyways, so I think that moral of the story, what I was trying to get back to was, I don't even know how I got to the puffer jacket, but that's what you get with these chatty work with me's. There's a little bit of scatterbrained me is, oh, so that puffer jacket, that's what I was getting to. You could absolutely, maybe you sold a puffer jacket, a different brand 3 months ago, and it sold for $50. And you're like, not even going to look this one up. It's a puffer jacket. It's black. I just sold one like it. You don't do any research. You just price it at $50. Assuming that didn't have a slightly broken zipper, and it was in good condition, that actually should be able to sell for $150. So if I went and didn't do any research and priced it at $50 and it sold immediately for $50, well, yeah, you probably priced that too low, but that's because you didn't do any research. I don't know about you guys. I do research when I'm trying to price things. And so if something sells quickly, I'm still I'm happy. B, I know I did my research, and there's always outliers. Like, yeah, maybe you could have squeezed another $5, $10. I do price a little bit more in the mid-range. I don't price overly high on my stuff. So yeah, maybe I could have squeezed out another $5 or $10. I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I'm going to take that as a win, and I'm going to be excited and not think. And I know, I mean, we're all guilty of it. Could I have gotten a little more money? Did I? And I have done that exact thing. I've gone and ran comps again and was like, oh my gosh, did I make a mistake? And sure, maybe you made a mistake. Move on. You sold it. Sold quick. You made a decent return, hopefully. So that one to me is, while there could be some truth to it, I just don't like the spinning a positive into a negative by making yourself or someone else feel like maybe they didn't price correctly. And more than likely they did some research. They priced pretty close, and it's a win. It's just awesome if something can sell that quick. I would love it if everything could sell quick for me. So, and it doesn't. All right, what else? Package things pretty for good feedback. How many, raise your hands if you have heard people say, even Poshmark in its emails to new users, if you package things cute and with a personalized note, you'll make people happier and they'll shop from you more. Look, I'm not going to say you shouldn't package cute if you want to. Melissa, what's her channel name? I've been watching her channel since the beginning. Down in Florida. Why am I blanking? I am so sorry. She's got a YouTube channel, and she does these packaging videos where she like wraps things up in cute tissue. She'll put little bows on it. It is so thoughtful, and I love hearing her talk through what's sold. I'm not saying you can't package things nicely. You should not feel like you have to package things nicely or you won't get good feedback. I get good feedback all the time. For me, as a buyer, I don't care how it comes packaged. If it comes, item is described, and it's somewhat shows that they tried to package it neatly, it doesn't even have to be in anything. It could be in a poly bag just by itself. As long as it's folded and it looks like they put a little effort into it, I'm happy. I don't need a thank you sticker. I don't need a thank you note. I don't need anything. Now, I have received items where it's cute poly mailers and stuff like that. If it makes you happy to get through shipping, which is not the most enjoyable part of I was thinking about like some people that I know who are on Whatnot and they're doing all these sales and they're having to ship all these items. I'm like, oh my God, that sounds like a nightmare. Shipping is not my favorite thing. It's part of the job. I'm excited to ship things off to their new home. I'm excited that things are selling, but it is not my favorite task. And if it makes you happier in a not so enjoyable task because you have some cute little poly mailers or you get to use some cute tissue, I mean, have at it, but you can have great feedback. I get positive feedback on my packaging all the time, and it's nothing special. I mean, mine's as basic as it gets. I am thinking about switching up my packaging next year, which I'm sure I'll share when I figure that out, but for a few different reasons. But I think that I try my best to protect items. I try my best to make sure they're folded neatly. I try to lint roll. You guys see me lint rolling all the time. I try my best to have a good presentation, but I do not go for cute. And I think it's cute if other people go for cute. Shout out to Ginger Marvin. She loves her poly mailers. I get excited for her when she posts on her Instagram that she got some new poly mailers. Like, but I've never bought them. So I think it's just personal preference, but you can get good feedback without cute packaging. And Poshmark, unless they start providing sellers with cute packaging, please stop. It just puts pressure on people who probably are selling things out of their own closet, probably aren't going to make a huge profit on items. And it's just going to cut into some of their costs, because unless you buy some of that stuff in bulk, like some of the cute stuff in bulk, or you get some good deal, it does eat away at some of your profits. And so, yeah, I think that was a lie pretty early on. And I still hear people talking about it like, you should really package things cute. I just buttoned this and I haven't even steamed it. But anyways, on that note, I am starving and I'm going to keep the clock running, but I am going to go make some lunch, take a pause from this free steam facial, and we're going to go cook some Green Chef. Big thank you to Green Chef for sponsoring today's video, because I am excited for this meal. Today, I'm cooking the spicy chicken and broccoli stir fry. This is gonna take me less than 20 minutes to cook, and I'm gonna have leftovers for tomorrow. And it's also under 600 calories. And right now, I've already gone to 2 holiday parties. I've got more holiday parties in the next few weeks. Thanksgiving is this week. I'm just trying to balance things out. I want to eat all the treats when I'm going to these holiday parties, but I want to come home and have some more balanced meals at home. So I'm excited. Let's get cooking. All right, here's my easy to read instructions. It's just telling me that I need to cut up my veggies. I love the pictures because it makes it, because basically I just like to copy and make it look exactly like the pictures. So I'm going to start with the bell pepper and the broccoli, cut these up and get going. I'm waiting for my pan to get hot. In the meantime, while I'm waiting, it's getting close. If you don't know what Green Chef is, it is a CCOF certified organic company, and they have options for every lifestyle. So I started using them when I was doing an elimination diet, and I was ordering a lot of their paleo meals. Now I pretty much eat anything that looks good, but they have vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, Mediterranean, fast and fit, keto, paleo. I think that's everything. They have a lot of options and 30 options to choose from each week. I'm going to put this chicken on now because I think it's nice and toasty. Sizzle. While I'm plating this up, if you also want to try Green Chef, which I highly recommend, you can use my code COMMONTAGS 599 to get $5.99 per meal on your first box, plus free shipping on your first box. So you can go to greenchef.com for more details. The chicken is cooked perfectly. The vegetables still have a little bit of crunch. Absolutely delicious. I'm going to enjoy all my treats and enjoy these meals in between. Thank you, Green Chef, for sponsoring another video. Back to the chatty work with me. Back to the steam bath. All right. So, where were we at? We were talking about packaging. Do what you want to do. You can get good feedback without it. I just think that is a lie, that you have to have good, cute packaging to get good feedback, or that's a requirement to be a good reseller. It's just not. Do what you want to do. It'll be fine either way. Another thing I've heard people say, it's kind of a 2-in-1. Also, I'm dreading taking you over there and doing an angle differently, but I'm excited for you to give me feedback on if you like that angle, because, I feel like I steam and I lint roll a lot on Chatty Work With Me's, but it would be fun to mix things up, show you how I take photos. So I'll save that for like the last 10 minutes of the work session, because if it's terrible, I don't want to create too much pain. So it's kind of a 2-for-1. So when I first started reselling, I heard people say eBay is dead. There's all these new reselling platforms. At the time, Poshmark was starting to boom. Mercari was on the market. People were excited about these new things. And people were saying eBay is dead. It's where all the older people shop. You can get more money for items on Poshmark. Oh my gosh, I remember someone I used to be friends with that I am no longer friends with, because they talk poorly about other resellers. They told me that they always price things. Everything they cross-listed to Poshmark from eBay, that they would price $5 higher. not a percentage, not, they always price just a little bit higher on Poshmark. The weird thing is my average sale price on eBay is higher. I sell cute and trendy things on Poshmark every day. I sell mature brands on Poshmark too. In fact, I heard about Poshmark from my mom who, Mom, I love you, but you do buy more mature brands or clothing items. And she was buying on Poshmark before I was. So I think this concept that eBay is not as cool or trendy. Now, it is a more complex platform. So from a user experience concept, especially to sell things for yourself, it is a more complex platform. Absolutely. But I sell cute and trendy stuff there all the time. I have been on eBay 6 months less time, but mostly the same amount of time as Poshmark in the grand scheme of things. I have the exact same stuff listed, unless there's something that like I accidentally forgot. So there's a little, I think there's about 50 items. I've got 1,600 items listed on eBay, and I have 1,550 listed on Poshmark. So obviously I have a little discrepancy, and that's just user error. But I've been on them approximately the same amount of time, and I do sell more on eBay. I do have a higher average sale price, and I do sell cute and trendy stuff over there all the time. I don't care where I sell things. Right now, I just want things to sell, you know? Isn't that the goal for all of us? So the concept that I heard in the beginning, and I'm sure people will just continue to say, you know, eBay's dying, eBay's dead. I mean, the other thing is that people can talk about their own personal experience. Maybe that 10 years ago, they were doing much better on eBay. I mean, I certainly was doing much better on Poshmark than I have the last few months. Poshmark has just died for me the last few months. Maybe I'll do a video explaining that, but, or my thoughts around that. But I can sit here and say Poshmark is just dwindling for me. That doesn't mean it's going to dwindle for you. That may mean that I'm listing different stuff. Maybe I'm not cross-listing as often, and maybe they do have some algorithm that actually does something. You know, there could be so many different variables. So there are people out there that could say my eBay sales have tanked. You know, it's just not what it used to be. They could say those statements, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to be a great platform for you. So anytime, I'm just using eBay as an example because that's who I heard in the beginning people complain about. And it was like a deterrent for me before I started eBay. You know, try things for yourself. Take everything that some other reseller says is a grain of salt. I don't care what numbers they show you. There's a lot of deceptive things that people do, unfortunately. And I think the best thing to know is if something's going to work for you, try it for yourself. And I'm pretty confident eBay is going to be around for a long time. It's been around for a long time. They're constantly trying to make improvements. I love the fact that there's a girl that I follow on Instagram. I don't follow a lot of like fashion people, and she's more of just like an influencer, but her name's Remy Bader. I hope I'm getting that right. She's pretty adorable. She got pretty like popular on, I think, TikTok. I don't watch her on TikTok. I watch her on Instagram, but I think it's the same content. Anyways, she tries stuff on, and she's a mid to plus size. I don't know. I think she's done both. I think she's whatever, but she tries things on, and she's got a really fun personality. And I just saw her in an ad for eBay Luxury, and I was like, yes, eBay, go you. Get on to this influencer bandwagon. And I'm not talking resellers. I'm talking genuine influencers who are fashion related, who are going to bring some people into the eBay space. She's young, she's trendy, she's hip, she's just fun, and she's a younger demographic. I'm like, good on you, eBay, for jumping on that bandwagon and getting the ball rolling with that, because, you know, that is a way of the future. Marketing and advertising is changing every day. And the more and more companies that realize that they need to stay up with the times, they need to jump on those bandwagons. And so I think eBay is going to continue to be around for a long time. It's not going to be perfect. It never has. It never will be. None of the platforms are. So, you know, I just think that when people make those statements, it doesn't mean anything. It's a lie. I don't care, you know? All right. Let's see. Another thing I've heard is don't list your out of season stuff. So here's an exception. If you have a huge death pile and you want to work through it, let's say you have a whole room full of unlisted inventory. My unlisted inventory is on this rack over here, on these two racks, hanging rack and this rack over here. And I usually dwindle it down to almost nothing. And that's when I go source. And I did do a little extra thrifting recently because I might not thrift this week that I'm filming, which is a holiday week. So I can spend time with family. But anyways, so you might have a whole room of 500 unlisted items. And if you do, just create a plan. I hear people talk about death piles all the time. There's a difference between a death pile and a security pile. Security pile means you have stuff to list for the next week. Maybe you got a bin or two of excess stuff in case you have a bad thrift day. A death pile it's so far beyond that. And it's okay if that happens. I mean, shopping for a lot of people is the best part of this job. And if you live near thrift stores and you pop in a lot, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Just create a plan. So if you're creating a plan, like if it were me and I had 500 unlisted items, I personally would probably go by season at that point. And I never, ever go by season. But if you have that much quantity, I would probably start a plan. I would separate out the sweaters, coats, because this is prime time to list those. It's the beginning of, I don't think winter has started, but you know what I mean. It's basically the beginning of winter. And people are buying their winter wardrobes, refreshing some stuff, getting some stuff in their size. Maybe they've gone up, maybe they've gone down. And so this is prime time. So I personally would say, get those sweaters and jackets listed, separate those out, do those first, because I understand it makes sense. But if I bring home a haul, like over here, it's probably between those bags and some of the stuff on this rack, it was probably like 80 items or something, maybe up to 100 this week, hopefully. I didn't count. But I have about 100 items. I'm not going to separate that out. This is what I'm hoping to photograph in the next 7 days. Fingers crossed. I don't think it'll happen, but I like to shoot for the stars. So I'm not saying you shouldn't, to try and get caught up on things, ever do things seasonally, but I don't think you should create a death pile, create a pile where you put it away and you stash it for 4 months and you just go out and source more because you want to wait till it's set in season. And you guys can disagree with me on this because I know some people just choose not to list out of season stuff. I don't understand it. I sell bikinis in December. I sell jackets in July. There's just so many different reasons why people are buying different things at different times. And I just think it can cause, for me, too many piles. I already have too many piles. I don't want to create new piles of, let's write July on here. And that's when I'm going to list this pile of stuff that's like prime. I don't know. That's just my own, again, all this is just my own opinion. I just think you can list out of season stuff can sell. And if you want to list it year round, just list it year round. I think it's a lie to say that you can't sell out of season stuff, therefore you shouldn't sell or list out of season stuff. I just think that's a lie. All right, here's another one that's kind of more hot topic with the times. Where are we at with the timer? All right, we'll do the other one in like 5 minutes, the other angle. So inflation. Doesn't matter. It's a worldwide thing. It doesn't matter why it's happening. What matters is costs are up on a lot of different things. And what you'll hear people say is you'll see the news articles of like, people aren't going to be shopping as much this holiday season, or people aren't going to be buying any unnecessary items while there's a recession, or, those types of things. You'll hear this stuff. You'll even hear resellers talk about like, I'm only going to buy those like must-have items. Like I'm going to focus on denim because people need to have denim, but they don't need to have a party dress because they're not going to be going to parties. While people's shopping habits may change during inflation and recessions and with economies changing, I can't tell you how much weird stuff I've sold. Like COVID was a great example. When thrift stores were closed down and people weren't even going out, I was still selling some odd stuff. And I remember people saying like, you should really only be buying, comfy stuff like leggings and like loungewear because people aren't going out as much. And it's like, I was selling some really odd stuff during that time when people weren't going out. I just think it's so hard. It's like trying to play, I'm going to use a house analogy because, that's another part of my life right now. But, you read all these articles and people are trying to time the market. And it's like, you can't time the market. You can't time the reselling market. Just pick up stuff that you think you're going to be able to sell at a cheap enough price where you're going to be able to make a profit. Try to learn from your sales, like what you personally are selling. And, if you can hold on to some things, it's probably going to be just fine. I think that people, I read this story recently where they were talking about they know a recession is coming based off of lipstick sales. If I can find the article, I'll link it down below. I'm sure I will forget. But basically that when times get tough, people might buy less expensive purses or fewer expensive purses, or they might treat themselves less, but they'll still treat themselves to a new lipstick. I don't buy lipstick, so I don't know this concept. But historically, they can look at sales of certain cosmetic companies, and women feel like, I can afford this $10 lipstick or this $20 lipstick, and that's going to be my treat. People still have shopping addictions. People still have shopping therapy that they're, even during tough times, going to want to fill. So I think that it's kind of like people trying to time the market with real estate. If you're trying to time how you source based off of the times, I don't think that came out right, but just go out, buy stuff you think you can sell, try and get it cheap enough, try and price reasonably. And then if, it takes a while to sell, hopefully you still make a profit. I think that, why do I buy stuff like this? Like, I know in a store when I pick something up and it's got a whole bunch of wrinkles, I know, like, Courtney, you're not going to want to steam that. Here I am. All right. What else? Okay. So this is a big one for me because I hear this a lot. Shout out to my friends who have said this. This is no shade. People who focus on the stupid dates on clothing. I do have an item. This is a Madewell item. I did not look at the date, nor do I care. Watch it. Oh no, it has a material tag. Okay, so on certain brands, if you look at the material tag, you can find a date, right? So this has, this has a date, like a season of when it was in store. So it says SU17, summer 17. That is, what year are we in? 2022, the end of 2022. So it's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. It's 5 years old. Oh my gosh. Guys, it is a most adorable little button front pineapple shirt. I don't care when this was made. I know this was I think this was a bins find I know that this is not going to get much money. It was cheap for me. It's cute. I like novelty prints. I don't care about that date. Now, I just saw someone that I genuinely like saying they were doing like a reel or something. And they said that they were watching some Whatnot show, or not Whatnot. What's the other one? Posh show, Posh Live, Posh, whatever. Posh shows. I don't even know the terminology, but Whatnot or Posh shows, the live stuff. She was watching those shows and she noticed that some of the people that weren't doing very well, that didn't have people in their show, were selling a lot of outdated stuff. And she was suggesting you should really only be buying stuff that was made in the last year or two. And I'm sitting here going, but why? Like, I'm 10 years behind in fashion, personally. I mean, I'm like a t-shirt and jeans kind of person. If someone likes pineapples, why does it matter if this was made 5 years ago? And in fact, maybe someone had this 5 years ago. They've worn it to death. And it's now 5 years later. And they're like, I love that pineapple shirt. I got so much use out of it. It got holes. And now I want to get a new one. I don't know. I think that I understand that if something was sold 6 months ago, it's more on trend, it's more in season, or not in season, but it's more recent. But I don't think you should never pick up anything that was made 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And I'm kind of in between of like the last year or two and vintage, like that time, that like 16, 18 years where it's not technically vintage. It probably hasn't come back in trends, but it's still a good quality piece, And some brands you can't see. Like, I don't know when this was made. Because this brand and other stories I don't think they have dates. But I do hear that a lot, and I think it's a lie. I think you need to learn what works for you. And I sell stuff left and right that is an old Madewell item, like a 8-year-old Madewell item. And it's kind of like that tank top. I'm going to go back to the tank top because I just want one listed in my size that's not $70, but that's probably a 10-year-old tank top. And here I am with a saved search waiting for that tank top. It's a basic. It's a style I like. It fits well. I layer it. I just don't want to spend $70 on it. So I'm waiting for someone else to list it. So I think there's just a lot of that. And, you know, we all have our different strategies. I think it's a lie to say you should only buy more recent stuff or you should buy vintage. Like, it's one of the two extremes. I hope that makes sense. All right, I'm done with these pants. I am going to move you and we're going to keep the timer going because we're going to put you on this tripod and then probably covering up the mic right now. We're going to try to do a new angle. You guys can give me feedback below if you think this is terrible. My feelings will not be hurt. But, oh geez. That was the biggest struggle of my life. It's probably going to fall again, but we did our best. All right, so I'm going to take some photos. Hopefully the camera doesn't fall and continue on. I've got about 8 minutes left. That took a lot longer. All right, 9 minutes left. All right, so what else is here? Another lie I've heard. You can't make a living selling $10 items. Not true. Not true at all. I think I've brought him up before, but there's a guy and he is an eBay seller, and I think, I could be wrong, but I think his average sale price is right around $10. He makes, it's been a while since I watched one of his videos, but I want to say he makes like $300,000 a year. Now it's churn and burn. Is that the right expression? 23 and 29. I can't talk and do this at the same time. I'm out of my sorts, but sometimes you just have to try something new. So he puts out a lot of items. He does a lot of like hats. He does like a lot of small goods, or small things. So, and I can't remember how many items he lists per day, but he lists a lot and he's got it down packed. He makes a substantial living. He buys low, he sells affordable stuff, and it's absolutely fine. Now, with that, people who say, I would rather spend $50 on something and make $200 on it because you're doing the work of one item, like you're taking photos and packaging and shipping one item for $150, you know, minus the fees, versus taking pictures for, you know, 20 items at $10 a pop. Is that the right math? That's a lot more time intensive. I agree with that. There is more time involved, but to find a whole bunch of $200 items, you're probably sourcing more. So it's just a difference of workload where you want it. But the other thing about buying something at $50 that you might sell for $200, unless it's like a guarantee shoe in, I've got to get my, like, unless it's an absolute guarantee that you are going to, oh geez. Unless it's an absolute guarantee that you are going to get the 200, you could potentially, like, maybe all the comps are 200, but then all of a sudden, you know, Kylie Jenner, who wore that item, moved on to something else and it's no longer desirable and people no longer want it. You just invested $50 and now you might sell it for $100 and it might sit for a year or two. So there's a higher risk when you pay up for things. Not to say you can't do that. Absolutely. Some people kill it that way. There's just a higher risk. So if you want to be the person that shops at the bins for all your items and your average sale price, or average profit per item is only $10, so be it. You can make a living. So anyways, I think that's a lie. I just think lazy people say that, or people who just don't like the processing, which is totally fine. It's totally fine. It's just, you can make a good living off of selling $10 items. The other thing I've heard is don't sell flawed items. So I think there's a difference of people who just don't want to sell flat items. Like they intentionally inspect things. I'm out of the frame. They intentionally inspect things really well because they don't want to sell flat items. I respect that. If you had a bad experience, and I mean, the argument there is that some people think they won't read. So even if you disclose all the flaws, they just don't want to sell a flat item. That's fine. But if I pick this up, I cut the tag off, I can't return it any longer. Maybe your thrift store doesn't allow returns. You paid money for something, and all of a sudden I notice there's a tiny spot, or even, like a small hole. Someone out there can fix it. I can't. That is for sure. So this is still an amazing piece, and someone could maybe bring it back to life because of a small hole. And I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell it at a discounted rate. I'm going to know it's flawed. I'm going to try and be transparent about that. But I can still make a great return on flat items. And there are some resellers out there that they love buying flawed items, like Rent the Runway has some boxes of damaged items, and people who will like actually go and do the work and fix them up and then resell them. I mean, if I could go back in time, I would have asked my grandma for help on learning sewing, because I do think it's a really great skill to have. But, I think if you do your best at disclosing things and accurately describing, in fact, I actually prefer if I buy something and they do make note of a small issue, light pilling, tiny pinhole, very faint stain, whatever the issue is. I would rather that, because then I know they inspected the item, and then I know I'm probably going to get what they've listed, versus the opposite of someone who doesn't really have a good description, doesn't really say much about it. I'm going to be a little uneasy. Like, did they look this over? So you can absolutely sell flat items. Here's another lie that I remember hearing. So I remember hearing someone, or in my early days, and she said, instead of going back and forth countering all the time, she just counters with like one time, one price, her best price. And so let's say someone sends her an offer, $50 on a $90 item. She's going to counter with her absolute lowest price. She never said what it was, what percentage, but whatever she felt comfortable. And if they countered again, she would just counter with that same price. I don't think pricing is absolute. I think your pricing could be wrong. That's just my own. Did I take pictures of the material? I did. Your pricing could be wrong. I think having that mindset that it's an absolute, like I usually always will decline offers that are less than 50% off my asking price, unless it's been sitting for a while. And then I'm like, let me go take a look at comps real quick. Maybe it's been sitting for a while because I am incorrect with my pricing. And sometimes that's true and sometimes it's not. But I don't think it's like a good attitude in this market to not try and negotiate with someone. Again, maybe I'm getting a little bit more open-minded to this because of real estate. But if someone wants to counter you with another $5 off, does it really hurt? Like after fees, that $5 is probably $3. Is it worth losing the sale over $3 just because they want to feel like they got a better deal? I don't know. I mean, you can price however you want. You can accept offers however you want. But I do think there is no exact formula with this. Reselling your item is really only worth what someone's willing to pay. And just because someone else paid for that exact item 3 months ago or 2 months ago or a month ago for some price doesn't mean that there's another person willing to pay that price. And so I think it's okay to be a little bit more flexible. 1932. Oh, geez. Wow, you're making noise over there. What did I say? 1332? 1932? Oh, this is why I am so scatterbrained all of the time. I don't know if this one will work. I know my timer is going to go off here soon. Because it will. But so I think that, being more flexible, not having absolutes, also a reason why sometimes it's better to buy low. Not to say you shouldn't pay up for things. I think it's definitely worth paying up for some things. But if you buy low enough, you can be more flexible with your pricing. Because I think some people do get emotional when it's like, oh, I spent $50 on that. Now I'm getting an offer for $100. I was hoping for $150, and I'm only going to make $30 after fees. You're still making a $30 profit. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't want to invest $50 to only make a $30 profit. But at the end of the day, that's the offer you're getting. So, all right, I think my timer, it's quiet. So I think my timer went off. All right, so I am going to, tell me what you think of this spot. You get to see my A-frame, that wall over there that's still not finished painting, but someday with a home sale, like in 5 more sales, I'll get that painted. But yeah, if this audio in this spot works for you, I might do this again, but I wanted to just try it out with a little bit of a test. On that note, let's go see the dog and talk about non-reselling stuff. Exciting news. When I'm filming this, which I am trying to do filming a little early so I can enjoy some family time. So I'm filming this on Monday of Thanksgiving week. Tomorrow, Tuesday, I'm scheduled to go show houses to a couple that I've shown houses to twice before. So the first time they came here, they were pre-approved for a loan. They knew they wanted to buy within a few months, but they had never been to the area. So we, and that's always very nerve-wracking for me because I'm like, did I oversell the area? Are they even going to like it? Because doing a whole day of showings, you know, like 10, 12 houses in one day, that's a long day because you have to drive through from like all the communities, because more than likely they'll see houses in different communities and it's like 20 minutes from here to there. And anyways, it's just a long day. So when I realized they liked the area, but they just didn't find the house, they said, we're more than likely going to want to come back maybe in like a month. So that was a few months ago. And so I was like, yep, no problem. And I try not to be pushy with any of these people. Like, I'm not reaching out to them every week to check in on them. When they're ready, they know how to reach me. They found me on YouTube. They have my information. So they called me, and it was like a month ago, and they said, we'd like to come up this day again. So did the same thing. We saw a whole bunch of different houses. And at this point, I'm like, okay, they like the area. They really want to kind of like, not zoom in, but really kind of hone in on the area that they want. And, you know, the more you see houses, the more you start realizing like must-haves and wants and you could do without. And yes, this community, or, oh, this one isn't too bad, or whatever it is. So we did another day of showings, and it was actually after our first snow. So they got to see a little bit of the mud, and it was a good day for them to see. And they both come from an area that gets snow, so that wasn't an issue for them. And it was mostly melted off. So when they left that day, they did tell me, well, we're hoping to make a decision by end of November, beginning of December. And so I left it with them of, they had 2 favorite houses from last time. I left it with them of, let me go let these agents know that this is in your top 3. And if you want to come back and see more houses, we can do that. So that's what's happening. So they're coming back tomorrow, and we're going to have another long day of seeing houses. But I'm pretty confident that they're going to make a decision. They already have 2 favorites. They're still on the market. And we're going to see some other homes to see if there's something else that maybe might be better. And it's great that they have options, because if they want to come in low on a price and they decide not to accept, they could always go like to their other option. So yeah, I'm really excited. What this means is, unless there's some contingency that would cause a delay in escrow, there is a chance that by the end of this year, I could have 3 escrows close. And that is wild, because while I have done some work over the year of putting out some videos and answering questions, and I did show houses to 2 other people that they didn't work out. Like, one of them, he ended up getting a house out of the area because he missed out on a couple houses here. I did write a couple offers for him, and it was just at the time when things were going very quickly. So he went to a completely different area. So he's not here and like looking anymore. And then there was another couple that decided due to life changes that they were no longer going to be looking at houses here, at least for right now. Maybe that changes in the future, but not anytime soon. So I did show houses to those two and spent time, but that's fine. And then I made some videos. But for the most part, a lot of my real estate work has been in the last few months. So if you take like how much work part-time I've done in the last few months, and it is time consuming. It is a lot of messaging back and forth. But to have 3 escrows potentially closed by the end of this year, my first year of real estate, is just wild to me. It's crazy because I was really hoping for 1 and it might be 3. And it's going better than I expected. And I know that there will be times where I might not get a call for 3 months. Like I know it's going to be kind of ups and downs. But if I can do this in my first year, what can I do in my second year? Can I double that? Can I, and it's just exciting. So anyways, I'm showing them houses. Oh, hi, Boo. Oh, you smell. Oh, okay. You can come right back over here. Right here. I know you. I know. I had it sitting right there. I don't know why I expect anything less. So yeah, I'm trying to set realistic expectations. I don't want that to be full time. So if it got to be too busy, but it's also a small community. There's not that much for sale. It's not ever going to be some like booming area. It might, hopefully I can get people to move here that never knew of the area and I give them information, but I don't think it's ever going to be too crazy for me. But I see that this may have been a really smart move. And the fact that they're coming back, the fact that I might write an offer this week, by the time you see it, maybe because this I'm going to send, I'll put down in a pinned comment in the description if I wrote an offer. And then in my next video, I'll update you on if it was accepted. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just relieved. I went on a walk with one of my friends to walk our dogs, and I went camping with her a couple months ago. And so I haven't really hung out with her since all this house stuff has kind of happened. And she's just like, so it seems like this was actually a good move for you. And I'm like, yeah. And it's such a risk. It's such a risk to pay for classes, to take the time away from reselling and YouTube to get something done, to get the stress of, or have to go through the stress of taking a state exam, which I hate tests. And there's no guarantee, but I had a plan and I was optimistic that it might work out. I know, Bill. We're going to go. Oh, you just heard that. Are we going to go for a WALK soon? We are. So I don't know. There's no guarantee. And I know this is going to have like an ebb and flow, but as my friend Tracy told me, reselling is always going to be here. And if real estate's slow, I can just bump up my listing, and if real estate's crazy, I can either get some help with photos or just list less, and it's okay. I will make it work. But so that's huge. What else? I have some holiday parties this season. I actually got I guess I'll just turn you around. I got is it even showing? A Christmas tree. And I have my haul that I've got to film as well. I've got my Christmas tree, which I actually wasn't thinking about decorating this year, but I was at a thrift store and just looking for fall and winter items. And so I was going through those racks specifically, and I saw this tree right when I walked in. I'm like, oh, it's too early. It's too early. It's too expensive. And I'm like, no, it's tall, it's skinny. Like, because I know I don't have much space in my house for some, last year I had like the most tiny tree and I put it back here, and that just didn't give the effect that I really wanted. And I just was like, okay, I can get a little tree skirt. Anyways, I kept looking at it while I was thrifting. And finally at the end of my thrift day before I was going to check out, not thrift day, but thrift trip there, I just was like, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. It's right before Thanksgiving. It's a little early for me. I like Thanksgiving a lot, so I don't like jumping ahead too much personally. But I was like, I'll put it up. I'll decorate it after Thanksgiving, and I'll get to enjoy it this season. And I'll probably just redonate it. That's what I did with the last one. I don't really have a lot of space to store stuff. I mean, I do have a storage shed, but that's mostly for reselling. So yeah, I keep plugging it in. It's been like 2 nights now, and I keep plugging it in. I'm like, yeah, this is really nice. It's adding warmth. It's adding coziness. And I just think all in all, this is probably going to be, it's going to be a happy holiday season, most of them are, but I'll miss my dad, and I think having some happiness and some joy will be nice. So yeah, it's a little big for for that space. And I'm not going to I don't have Christmas here, so it's not like I'm going to be putting a whole bunch of Christmas presents under it. But I'll put a little tree skirt under, I'll put some ornaments on, I'll have it lit up every night, and I'll be happy. So, what else? I was thinking about going camping, but I'm worried. Also, I actually like this one. There's another flavor I don't like as much, but this is a sparkling water that is blood orange and orange juice. It's the Trader Joe's brand. I don't like the cranberry lime one. I was very disappointed with that one. But this one's actually pretty good. I'm worried because I'm in an escrow on a very expensive home. And I think the fun thing that I'm excited about most with real estate is the people aspect. While it's a lot of communication back and forth, everyone's a little different, and you really have to use that skill set of trying to read the room, and everyone's going to have different expectations. So I am hopeful that if I do a good job with these clients, they buy multiple properties in Southern California, and they might want to buy more properties in the future. And I would love to do a good job. But part of that good job is communicating the way they want, not what I want. So my last escrow, they were more communicative because it was their first home. They had more questions. We were talking almost every day via text and phone calls. This new client, not new client, but the new escrow, this escrow that I have open right now, it is completely different. This is not their first home. This is not their first rodeo. They are incredibly busy with businesses and have less patience for things. And so I'm just trying to navigate, okay, this is when our escrow is expected to end. What is the right amount of communication for them? And if I can figure that out, if I can use my common sense, and do a decent job with figuring out what, meeting their expectations, this could turn into other properties down the road, and that would be really exciting. So the reason I am nervous about going camping is because I'm thinking if I go camping somewhere and if I don't have I can go camping where I have cell reception. It's just, then you really don't escape. Then you're not really taking a break, but I can. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll go camping somewhere I know I'll have cell service so that if there is some situation, but then I don't want to bring my computer. If there's something that a document that needs to be signed and I've got to, I don't know. It's just, I don't want to screw this one up. And I feel like if I go away, then something's going to happen when I'm away. It's not that you can't take breaks. I understand that, but I just don't want to screw this transaction up. So I don't know. I'm thinking, it might not happen. I don't know when if I'm going to go camping before this transaction ends or not. If I am, I feel like maybe earlier rather than later. I don't know. It's all kind of interesting. It's good to take breaks. I am taking breaks. But yeah, we'll see. Right, dog? I know. What else is new? I haven't been going to yoga as much. So we have one yoga studio here, and they just have very limited classes. And since everything started going crazy with real estate, and I was just trying to keep afloat with taking photos and getting videos done and, being productive with my time, it just became increasingly hard to schedule in yoga classes. So they are having a holiday party in a couple weeks. I don't know if I'm going to go, partly because it's at a winery and I'm not consuming wine at the moment. It's not that it's a big deal if I go there and don't consume wine, but I'm learning that those are the types of places where it's if you aren't drinking wine, it's just the questions, and it's not like any of these places have good non-alcoholic options. Then it's let me drink a soda. I don't know. So I don't think I'm going to go, but then my friends are going to be there. Anyways, I would like to get back into yoga. I'm just thinking maybe I should try some online yoga. So if you guys have any yoga on YouTube or any program online that you really like, let me know down below, because I think this winter, while things are crazy busy, I can just do some yoga at home. I used to do yoga on my deck a lot, but when it's cold, that's obviously not an option. So maybe using my TV and actually, trying some yoga at home. It doesn't do much for like the in-person stuff, but at the same time, it just was getting so stressful. Like if I didn't have my shipping done in time and I wanted to make a 9 a.m. yoga class, I would go to the yoga class, drive into town, come back, have to do my shipping, drive back into town. It was just wasted time and I just couldn't get everything sorted out. So, and then I'll end with this because I did post this on Instagram. I went to the urgent care and it was it a week ago, 2 weeks ago? Anyways, I was using a mandolin and I was cleaning something off. It had a little thing on it. And so I was just trying to get the little thing off, like a crusty thing. It has a security thing. So I've never had an issue with this mandolin. And while I was trying to get this little crusty thing off, I went right into the blade and I did a pretty good job. I mean, I'm not going to show because I don't like seeing other people's injuries, but it was a decent cut. I begged to not do stitches because I've never had stitches in my life and I'm a wuss when it comes to injuries, but I did go to the urgent care. It was this whole ordeal. But the good thing is they glued it together and it's healing up very nicely. So it will leave a scar. It's not a big deal. I actually have another scar on this same finger from when I was a kid. But this is healing up nicely and I'm relieved. So that's it. I'm going to take this dog on a walk and get some more stuff done. I'm not taking shipping today, so I'm just going to try and get more photographed and listed. And I think it's going to be a pretty chill week for me when you're seeing this a week ago. But again, I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. Green Chef, thank you again. I am just really enjoying having the balance of some veggies and protein and some healthier things to supplement my pies, cookies, and cakes because I feel like I'm going to be enjoying a lot of holiday treats this year. So on that note, I'll see you in the next video. Be sure to hit the thumbs up. Bye.